Frustrating, isn't it? That's what we want. What do you think of that?
That actually felt really effortless. Like, honestly, whenever I even practiced it this morning, and I just labored through that first section, those first two staves with the metronome over and over and over. And by the time I just got tired and just moved on to a different piece.
This is what happens. This is where most people give up, in the areas of frustration and difficulty that if you don't know how to get past them, we think indicate that we don't have talent or what it takes. What it really indicates is that you're learning, and if you give up, you'll never get there. But if you know some things about psychology and neuroscience and how to apply them to learning, you can get past any of these plateaus and any of these difficulty sections to move to the next level.
Yes.
Start to get a little bit excited about what you might be able to do with your playing.
I am.
Makes practicing a lot easier when you know it's effective. And you mentioned you've been working on this piece since last semester, yet in the last 15 minutes you've been able to get it up to a faster, cleaner tempo, and it feels easier, right?
It does. It really
like
does.
More than a little easier, right?
Yeah.
You realize you can do this with an entire recital or a competition or whatever. I'm Gregg Goodhart, the learning coach at Learn Like a Genius, and I teach the highly unintuitive, weird, and rarely used ways that learning really works. The few people that understand this and apply it regularly we call gifted and talented, but anyone can do it. Now we'll find out how we did what we just did. We're going to start by talking about how the brain forms neural networks and why it is so important to get something accurate and get the right neural network when we start. That's where we'll start, and we'll come back to this in a minute. Now we're going to take the rhythm out of everything we're doing and just play them straight with all even rhythmic values. This will do two things. First, it will solidify the exact movements we want to do motor skill-wise and create an accurate neural network to begin working with in our brain. Secondly, it will produce desirable difficulty. That is, little bits of difficulty that make learning better even though it looks like you're struggling, because it's a bit unusual to play it like this as opposed to with the rhythms. Frustrating, isn't it? That's what we want. Who in the world would want to do that? Over and over, all the time. That's what it takes. She's just about perfected the even rhythms, and just as she's about to get it, we move on to something more difficult. We start introducing dotted rhythms, which is a great way to introduce contextual interference to create desirable difficulty in people who haven't done this before. Dotted rhythms are a bit easier, though there are many things you can use at all levels of playing. Notice what happens. She starts to struggle. It doesn't look like learning, and then just as she's about to get the dotted rhythms, we introduce a Scotch snap rhythm. Watch how she struggles with this. It doesn't look like learning is going on here, does it? Actually, this is high efficiency learning. This is where learning hides. This is where your talent lives. Go find it. Good. Two things. Good, we love the mistakes, right? We love the challenge. Nice, don't let it get to you. Good job. Okay, tough, right?
Okay, yeah, that was tough.
Good, that's what we want. Just stick with me, we're almost there. Now we're... we do. We took her off task from what she was doing before, went and then concentrated on the left hand, and now we've gone back and it's not fresh in her mind anymore. This is exploiting something called the spacing effect. That is, you will learn more and be able to perform better if you put spaces of forgetting in between when you work on things. If you're playing something at home and you've just repped it 10 or 20 or 100 times, and then you play the piece, it seems to go really well. But then when you get up on stage, it doesn't. That's because when you're on stage, you haven't been able to repeat it 10 or 20 or 50 times just a second ago, and it's not hanging out in your working memory. What you have to do is retrieve it from your long-term memory, and you have to do it quickly in performance. You do this by putting ever longer periods of forgetting in between when you work on stuff. Most people don't want to use this because when you go back after you've started to forget, it's harder to play. You don't remember exactly what's going on. That's the act of retrieval, pulling the stuff out of long-term memory into the moment that you need it, and you're strengthening that for when you perform. It works amazingly well. Not many people use it, but watch how well it works here. Now it's time for the payoff. What have the last 15 minutes of struggle done for us? We start with a really reasonable tempo and find a number on the metronome that works. She turns off her brain and starts to perform, not concentrate and think about what's going on, and just play. You'll notice that with each rep it gets stronger, faster, better, and it feels easier to her. Pretty crazy the way learning really works. And this is why most people won't do it and won't get really good at stuff. This is how you can get as good as you want at anything. I want to see that face again. What was that you just did? Wow,
accurately.
Right? What do you think of that?
That actually felt really effortless. Like, honestly, whenever I even practiced it this morning, and I just labored through that first section, those first two staves with the metronome over and over and over. And by the time I just got tired and just moved on to a different piece.
And yet, it makes no sense that doing what we just did should work, and it worked better than months of other practice, right?
Yes.
Starting to get a little bit excited about what you might be able to do with your playing?
I am.
It makes practicing a lot easier when you know it's effective.
Hold it.
It feels good, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay, now for the big payoff. Okay, oh, by the way, what number did we start at?
We started at 52.
You have any idea what number we just did?
I'm actually not sure.
104, twice as fast.
Oh, wow.
So now look at what all this hard work and struggle does. Sometimes we try to avoid hard work and struggle with students and with ourselves. It's discouraging. But look at how enthusiastic and how much self-esteem it gives you to do it right. The payoff after some really unusual work is enthusiasm to do more work, self-esteem, and all the things we really want out of learning. This is how it's done. You know, some people say where there is interest, there's accomplishment. I say where there's accomplishment, there's interest. Show them, get them to feel and do, and yourself to feel and do things you thought you couldn't do before, and watch what that does for your enthusiasm to do lots more of this type of work. And you mentioned you've been working on this piece since last semester, yet in the last 15 minutes you've been able to get it up to a faster, cleaner tempo, and it feels easier, right?
It does. It really
like
does.
More than a little easier, right?
Yeah.
You realize you can do this with an entire recital or a competition or whatever.